Hello and welcome to another jam-packed episode of my favorite conservative. We're having technical issues this morning, but
Yes.
Welcome again. I am Edward.
And I'm Andrea, but I am not conservative.
No, you're not.
I am not, but he is my very, very, very favorite conservative.
Three varies. Thank you.
Yes, I know. We did have technical difficulties. We're a little out of it. So we have a topic today that we are going to get to, but because we had a non-live episode last week, we are just going to briefly touch on, and if you want to just, fast forward 5 minutes, we understand, but briefly touch on what the heck happened in the GOP primary races, because there have been some updates.
Yeah, we've gone through Iowa first, the cockeye, if you will.
Yes, and Vivek did not do as well as he expected.
Vivek didn't do that well. I believe my prediction was pretty close.
Your predictions have been perfect.
I had DeSantis just barely beating Nikki Haley by a point or two.
Yes.
And that is actually what happened. And then, as I also predicted, DeSantis dropped out. So
yes, he dropped out before New Hampshire.
Dropped out before New Hampshire, which I thought was the right thing to do for him. It really was. Yeah.
And then what happened in New Hampshire? Tell the audience.
Yeah, Vermont's cranky neighbor. Yeah, so it was basically Nikki Haley versus Donald Trump, and Donald Trump pretty much wiped the floor with her. And
but she acted like she won.
Yeah,
she came in second place, which was last.
Yeah,
but she acted like she won. So
yeah, she was the first loser.
Yeah,
and also the last place. Yeah, so so Trump has a pretty commanding lead there. Nevada's next, followed by South Carolina, and we'll take it from there.
All right.
Yeah.
Quickly. Oh my goodness. Let's say hello. It says greetings from Germany. Welcome so much.
Deutschland.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching live. So I do want to talk about briefly, again, before we get to our main topic. You won't be surprised by the main topic. It's in the news. But so I did not know this. For all the Democrats out there, I'm a registered independent. I've been a registered Democrat. I had no idea that the DNC had decided not to have primaries in certain states.
That's the Democratic National Committee.
But explain what this is, what they decided to do.
So New Hampshire, everybody talked about Trump and Haley, but it was also Democrats were voting for their nominee, if you will, but was not recognized by the DNC. The Democrats want South Carolina to be the first primary in the nation because that will help Joe Biden.
So here's the thing I don't understand. I just want to clarify for the audience because this made my mind explode. Not just as a former Democrat, but just as a U.S. citizen who, we get to vote, right? I don't understand. Are you saying to our audience that New Hampshire and Iowa, and I think Nevada, do not have Democratic primaries?
They have primaries. They don't allot any delegates for winning or losing that. It doesn't. If you were supposedly getting delegates, they're not going to count because the Democrats are trying to stack the deck for Joe Biden.
So those people who went out and voted for maybe, I don't know, for Dean Phillips, we talked about him before, or RFK Jr.
Wasted.
Wasted.
Yep. Completely wasted. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So.
Get pissed off, people.
Yes. Now, mind you, this is the party that screams about democracy's in the balance and every vote counts. And
what the hell? I mean, I just, if I were a citizen of either of those any of those three states, so again, just to recap, Iowa, New Hampshire, or Nevada is coming up, I would be so pissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be furious.
Yeah. And
your vote doesn't count.
Biden wasn't even on the ticket in New Hampshire. I
don't think that's a bad thing.
Anything he got was a write-in, but Dean Phillips actually got 20% of the Democratic vote there.
But they're not going to give him any delegates.
No, not at all.
That is such bullshit. Go ahead and censor us, Apple, YouTube. I dare you. All right, let's talk about our topic for today. And we do welcome all your comments if you're watching live.
Okay, so what is our topic today?
Our topic today is the southern border. Okay. What a fucking mess. Yeah, I got a mouth on me today. I'm really tired.
Look out.
I am. So let's talk about this open border policy and what it's doing to this country, Edward?
Well, what I think, let's look at what some of the ramifications have been from this policy.
Okay.
And then you'll see kind of why people are getting really pissed off. I mean, just look at where you lived a lot of your life in California.
Yes.
They have now provided taxpayer funded healthcare for all illegals.
Yes. And so when I lived in California, I worked when I worked at UCLA, we did have a lot of people in our research study that we knew came to California, came to the US illegally. And when I lived there, it was sort of what did you call it? A don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, it was like,
it
the
really
days
was.
in the military. Yeah.
You could get health care. You could go to the emergency room.
Right.
You could go to urgent care. And even if you were illegal, they would not ask to see your papers. They wouldn't ask to see anything. And you could get health care. And it was so frustrating to me because there was a long period of time, my 20s, when I didn't have any health insurance. Yeah. I couldn't go to an emergency room without getting, a bill. Like I couldn't do any of those things. And yet for more than 2 decades in California, you could go to urgent care in the ER and there would be no questions.
Yeah.
But now it's a whole nother level.
Yeah. So now they have expanded the healthcare that illegals now get is everything.
Yes.
It is not just emergency room. It is not just pregnancy related. So
right.
It is anything.
So I want Californians, I want you to think about that. If you are an independent contractor and you don't get healthcare as part of your employment, think about that for just a second. But you're a U.S. citizen and you are a citizen of California, and yet you are not able to get health insurance unless you fall way below the poverty line.
Yeah. I mean, do you renounce your American citizenship to get health care? Right.
That's actually kind of clever. I got to say, that's pretty clever.
Yeah. Probably long-term, not a good idea.
All right. Let's go to the other side of the country because there's some other things going on. Other states that are making accommodations for illegal immigrants instead of citizens.
Well, what's funny is all of these places that we talk about are all sanctuary cities, sanctuary states.
That's true. Yeah.
And they thought they were going to escape the ramifications of these policies, but unfortunately it's come to bite them in the butt. So New York City, let's go to New York. They are now cutting police funding, library funding, and a lot of social services funding because they have to spend that money to house the illegal aliens.
Yes. I prefer to say immigrants. I know you're saying alien, but that's fine. But yeah, and we'll get to this a little bit later, but we're not against immigrants at all. We're talking about people who come to the country illegally.
Yeah, but there are actually some high schools now in New York that are sending their students home to learn remotely so that they can house immigrants, illegals in the schools.
And in Chicago too, right?
And Chicago's doing that. Yeah. Can you imagine being a taxpayer, and having your kid, we saw how well remote learning worked during COVID, right?
As a former teacher, I can tell you it's not going to work.
So let's really just keep screwing these kids up. So
so that that I think that's sort of to be expected in places like California, New York, Chicago, but there's also something going on in North Carolina.
Yeah, a little place called Hanover, North Carolina. They're actually closing a school for special needs kids to house illegal aliens. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
You can't make this up.
Citizens of Hanover, come on, step up, go to your school board meetings, protest. I mean, my God, this is just wrong.
And in terms of raw numbers, I mean, what the administration is admitting to is about 8 million illegals so far. Now, this is
since the Biden administration.
Right. This is in 3 years.
3 years.
Right. 3 years, 8 millions, almost 1.7, 1.75 million gotaways. And it's probably way more than that.
Explain what a gotaway is.
A gotaway is when people come to our southern border, most of them go to these entry ways. So they're all processed through these little ports or open gates, whatever. Gotaways, those are the bad people. Those are the really bad people because they don't want to come in through the open gates. They know that they'll be found out for what they really are. So they are going in places that are not being patrolled now because the Border Patrol is being so stretched that all they're doing is processing people.
And I know we don't have it in our notes here, but we all heard if well, I don't know, it depends on the news outlets you listen to, but there was a guy at the border that was of Middle Eastern descent,
Yeah.
and who seemed very threatening in both his words and actions, and was crossing the border, coming
Yes,
in.
you do not. You should know me, but you will know me soon. Kind of
It was very
a threat.
threatening.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Can anybody say Osama bin Laden? So
And then I also know that there is a UN program. Would you talk to us a little bit
the
about?
United Nations, yeah,
Yes.
the waste of space on the Hudson River.
This is one of those
Yeah.
times where Nikki Haley might not want to brag about being a former UN ambassador.
Yeah, so the UN back in 2021, surprisingly, starting the Biden administration,
Yeah.
they put together called the Interagency Coordination Platform for Refugees and Migrants from Venezuela. They called it R4V for short. Well,
let's call it that, R4V.
Yeah, but this program is not just for Venezuela. It is now covering millions of illegals or citizens down in Central America.
Okay, but what does the
And
program do?
what it's doing, it started with a budget of about $600 million. That grew in 2023 or 2022 up to about $800 billion. Or excuse me, $1 million.
Yeah.
It's now this year $1.6 billion. And what they're doing is giving debit cards and actual envelopes of cash to people in Central and South America to be able to make their way north to the United States. Now, since the United States is the biggest funder, by far
Of the
UN,
Yeah.
this is our taxpayer dollars going directly to helping people get here who have no actual right to be here. And we're going to have to figure this out. So,
Oh, okay, that's a lot. So, however, there is a state that is finally doing something about this. And if you don't know what that state is, remember the Alamo. It is the great big state of Texas.
Yeah, and remember you've got 4 border states on the southern border. You got California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas.
Right.
3 of the 4 are run by Democrat governors. The only Republican governor is Texas. Okay, that's Greg Abbott.
Arizona? Oh, that's right.
No,
that's right.
Yeah,
Kerry Lake.
Kerry Lake.
Okay, yeah. Go. Continue.
So Greg Abbott is the governor there. He has been a little slow to respond to this.
He has, and he's been criticized.
Yeah, I heard one explanation is, he's a very methodical lawyer and has been in his past, and he always completely looks at things and goes over the minutia and everything before he acts. Well, they finally decided to act, and they have erected their own border at the southern border, and now they're in a fight with the federal government.
What is the actual border? What did they put in place?
Well, they put up a lot of
barbed wire.
Well, but yeah, actually not barbed wire. It's razor wire, which is different.
Sorry, yeah.
But along with box cars, and they put the razor wire on top of the box cars.
Okay.
And the federal government is saying, no, this is our job to secure the border.
It is.
Well, yes,
but you're not doing it. Right. It is your job. Yes. But
so they started to take this stuff down. Greg Abbott in Texas filed a lawsuit. It went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, it is the federal government's job, but we're not going to make you take down the razor wire. But if the feds come in, they can take it down if they want to. So,
oh my God, it's so much back and forth.
It is. I mean, the one thing Greg Abbott, though, he's on firm constitutional ground. He cited Article 4, Section 4, which says the United States, the federal government, shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion.
I just want to point out that that's the key word here. And
Yes.
I think that that's what people are quibbling over is the word invasion. Mm-hmm. Texas is now calling this an invasion. The federal government is not.
Well, it is an invasion of not only of people, but you've got these drug cartels that are heavily armed.
Oh, yeah.
That are enforcing all of this immigration or migration coming north. So, right. Yeah. So I think they're on firm ground in that regard. But they at least have not been ordered to take down what they've put up. And so far, the federal government has not brought in anybody to start taking this down yet.
Okay. So how come, I know you're going to talk about the House resolution in a moment, but so how come people are, I feel like some of the news media is really amping this up because it feels like it's sort of this, I don't know, maybe it's the quiet before the storm. I'm just spitballing here, but it feels like they're amping this up like Texas is going to go to war with the US this week. And I don't think it's quite there yet.
Yeah. Well, the whole issue is coming up now only because it's an election year. It's 2024. Right. And the Biden administration understands how pissed off most of the American public is about this because it's, it used to be a Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California problem.
And it's not anymore.
Not anymore, because when these people come across, they are processed very quickly. They're not vetted. They're processed. They're put on buses, they're put on planes, and they're being sent around the country to all these other states. People are complaining in New York and Chicago that Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is busing migrants up there. Well, they need to look in the dead of the night. Their airports are being inundated with these, flights coming from Texas. That is the federal government doing this. So I think people are getting pissed off. It's an election year, and Biden needs to pretend say he's going to do something.
I think it's good, though, that other states that are non-border states, because most states aren't a border state, are starting to feel the pain a little.
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing.
When the Republicans first started complaining about this border issue years ago, and they said every state's a border state, I thought, oh, really? We're really not. But yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are.
I was wrong. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, whoa.
I know. Doesn't happen too often.
No, I was going to say you don't admit it too often.
Well, this is true.
He just said I was wrong.
This is true.
Say,
yes.
Okay. So remember this episode, people. Season 2, episode 18. Edward admitted he was wrong.
Yes, that'd probably be the title of it.
All right. Talk about the Secure the Border Act.
Well, the Dems are complaining the Republicans hadn't done anything about it. Well, the first thing they did, actually the second thing, this is in 2021, when they took over from the Democrats in the House of Representatives, where all bills and all spending must
early
originate.
2022.
What's that?
Early 2022 would have been started, right?
Early 20. Yeah. When they took over the House, their second bill that they put forward was House Resolution 2, which is, and they're in order, people. So it's House Resolution 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Secure the Borders Act, which would use physical barriers and technology to curb illegal immigration, increase the number of Border Patrol agents, and streamline the asylum process. It now sits on the shelf in the Senate, which is run by
Democrats.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
And, and as someone who has gone to the Hill in the past for healthcare legislation, this happens all the time. Yeah. This happens all the time. And you need both chambers, right, to get something passed through. And where we are now, when we have the House slim majority Republicans and the Senate majority Democrats, nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's so frustrating.
A lot of times I'm not upset when nothing happens because they're not passing bad bills.
I know, but this is different.
But when there are true emergencies that need to be taken care of, this gridlock is really bad. In fact, the Senate just yesterday supposedly had reached an agreement with Chuck Schumer negotiating for the Democrats and Jim Lankford for the Republicans. He's a Republican senator out of Oklahoma who is not on board with the Trump guidelines, if you will. Yeah. And they basically agreed to, we will start to call this, and we'll shut down the borders after 5,000 illegals a day are at the border.
Oh, I did hear about
this. So they're gonna have to send it to the House. The House said it's gonna die immediately. Yeah. So nice, they're wasting their time in the Senate.
All right, since you do call me the play-by-play person.
I do.
All right, let's talk about what our president tried to do.
Well, he, since they won at the Supreme Court that said that they have the rights to secure the border, the federal government does, Biden decided he was going to try to play the Border Patrol, which is a federal agency, against the Texas National Guard, who is setting up all the new barriers down
Right.
in Texas. And he thought, boy, I'll get those two clashing and this will be great. And we'll show our
And I think
federal
this is what
force.
increased the rhetoric this
Yeah.
week. I
Yeah.
think this is what
This
did
is
it.
what has amped it
But
up.
tell our audience, in case they don't know what actually
Well,
happened.
unfortunately for Joe Biden,
Not unfortunately.
well, for Joe Biden,
Oh, well,
unfortunately
okay.
for him,
Yeah, all right,
yes. The Border Patrol Union, which
Yes,
is
they have a
the rank
union.
and file, yes, they quickly announced their full support for the National Guard and
Woohoo!
saying they have an incredible working relationship with the men and women of the National Guard and that this would not become a confrontational issue.
Yes.
So good for them.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Stand united. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
We do have something else that though is happening this week.
Yeah, this week. Okay. So there's a bunch of truckers that have gotten together.
Not in Canada.
No, yeah, so
it's not the Canadian truckers.
Correct. And they have formed a thing coming up this week that's going to be called Take Our Borders Back. It's a truckers rally.
Okay.
And there's going to be 3 points. One is Eagle Pass, Texas, which is a huge hub of.
Is that near El Paso?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Down in southern Texas, where a huge majority of these illegals come through.
Okay.
Tucson, Arizona, and San Diego, California. Okay. So there are literally thousands of trucks heading down to these places to show their support.
Oh boy.
You know, my concern though is a January 6th redo, if you will, redux.
What do you mean?
Where it would not surprise me if there are going to be bad actors in these crowds that are going to try to cause chaos, immediate riots, that sort of thing, and blame it all on, of course, MAGA, blah, 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 blah.
Is this take our border back truckers? We need to put them in the show notes. If we can find anything on them, we will. But if you live in Eagle Pass, Texas, if you live in Tucson, Arizona, if you live in San Diego, California, and you are tired of illegal immigrants coming into your city, get out in droves and support these truckers.
Well, you should see some of the videos. If you haven't seen the videos, just on interstates around the country, when these truckers are they're going down there, people are lining the highways and the freeways and overpasses with American flags and cheering these people on.
That's great to know. Okay, so we definitely have to put a link to some of that in the show notes. But yeah, support these truckers. I mean, they're trying to make a statement, and we don't want what happened to those truckers in Canada to happen to truckers here. Yeah,
let's hope that Biden doesn't go full Trudeau. I mean, if you remember up there, they locked them out of their bank accounts.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was criminal. Yeah, what they did. All right. Anything else on illegal immigration?
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Republican reply to the Senate's idiotic 5,000 illegals a day is tolerable. The answer is zero.
Zero. Correct? I agree.
Yes. Thank you. It's zero. Now, there are always going to be some people to get across. Understand.
Right.
But actually inviting people in and processing them. I was actually thinking what they're doing is when these people come here.
Yes.
And they're processed and they are then given a court date for their air quotes asylum hearing.
Right.
Which I believe it's over 90% wouldn't qualify for.
Right.
That's in 5, 6, 7 years from now. I think the earliest is like 3 years from now.
Yeah.
A great solution, and the Republicans really need to think hard on this, is when they come to our borders, you process them. You give them a court date. You send them home.
Yep.
And you say, this is your court date. Come back in 6, 7 years. We'll hear your case.
It pains me to say this because I have not voted for him, but Trump would do that.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
He would do that.
That would be day one.
Yeah.
Guarantee that. Yeah.
Okay. On a lighter note.
Yes. Shall we?
Yes. This week in woke. Let's talk about it. And this is one I usually, by the way, for the audience, don't have a lot of influence on this, but I wanted something really, really fun and juicy. So
yeah, this was from Eleanor Cataleras in the New York Post.
We'll put you in the show notes.
The headline is, "I'm obese and refuse to give up my second seat on a plane for a toddler."
Yes, this caught my attention, right?
Here's the story. A woman has faced criticism online after revealing she refused to give up the second plane seat she had bought so that a fussy toddler could sit next to his mom. The 34-year-old passenger said she had booked 2 seats on the domestic flight due to previous experiences of being uncomfortable in one.
Can I interject?
Please do.
All right. So this is this 34-year-old passenger is plus size travel influencer. Her words, not mine. Jalen Cheney. Jalen, God bless you. We are going to tag you. But this is your quote. You said, because I'm fat, I booked an extra seat so everyone can be more comfortable. I know it sucks having to pay for an extra seat, but it is what it is. She continued. And I so appreciate this. Okay. I so appreciate that you wanted to be more comfortable. You wanted other people to be more comfortable. And out of your own pocket, you paid for 2 seats. And lady, those were your 2 seats. And the thing that really makes me mad, I can't believe the backlash this woman has gotten. The thing that makes me mad is that when you bring a toddler on a plane, I think it's up to age 2 or 3, but this toddler was under the age of 2.
18 months.
18 months. So you don't have to pay for an extra seat if that child is going to stay on your lap the whole time, right? And let's face it, it's very expensive to fly. It's getting more and more expensive. Most parents of young children don't, because babies cry during flight. You need to hold them anyway and console them. That's the word I'm looking for. And so a lot of parents don't shell out that money. Totally fair. But people are saying that this woman is terrible because she wouldn't give up the extra seat she paid for.
Yeah.
And the mother did not pay for. And I just want to say that this, not exact scenario, but the reason I think I resonated so much with this is that in September, so roughly 5 months ago or so, I paid to upgrade on a flight my seat. And this was a personal trip. It wasn't business. And the flight attendant yelled at everyone because none of us wanted to give up our seats so a parent and child could sit next to each other. And I was one of the people that she targeted. And I said, under any other circumstance, I would be fine, but I actually paid to upgrade to this seat. And so, no, I'm not going to give it up. You got to figure it out somewhere else. And this flight attendant was so hostile to everyone, absolutely everyone. And so I can't believe the backlash this young woman has gotten.
You're a small person, and I know you travel way more than I do. You've been pinned to your seat from an obese person next to you.
I have been pinned to the window where my right cheek was up against the window because of the person who was in the middle seat and who was overflowing. And let's face it, let me back up. The seats are getting smaller and smaller. It's ridiculous. Like, I just barely fit in this seat. And as Edward said, I'm a pretty small person, short in stature and just small overall. But the seats are just getting so tiny. And there was a flight where this very obese man was sitting in the middle. I mean, he was overflowing into the aisle. He was overflowing into the window. And my cheek was pressed up against the window the whole freaking flight. And thank God it was less than 2 hours. It was awful and it was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. So Jalen Cheney, you did the right thing.
Kudos to Jalen. Yeah, that's you stepped up, you paid it out of your pocket.
Yes. And some people actually said to her, "You're so fat that you need to do this. You are selfish." What? No, that's the whole point.
She wasn't selfish.
She wasn't selfish. She wasn't selfish.
Yeah.
Selfish would have been just, I know I can't fit in one seat. Oh, well, too bad to the person sitting next to me. She wasn't selfish. And if anything, that mother is the one that overreacted.
Yeah. You know, if you don't purchase a seat for your child,
that's on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hold the child in your lap.
I might be a little excited about this. Anyway. Okay. So that's This Week in Woke. We do want to do a shout out. So we didn't have a live episode last week because I was in
Shit Francisco.
Yeah.
You were, yes.
Yeah. You need to say that louder because people can't hear you.
Shit Francisco.
Yes.
Yes.
So, which, by the way, it's true. Unfortunately, there are human feces on the sidewalk. You do have to actually look down when you're walking and step around.
It's like a minefield.
Yeah. I mean, it was better in some places than others, but what I noticed is so many store owners were putting out cardboard boxes and flattening them right up front. I don't know if it was to cover it. I have no idea. Anyway, it was
Wipe your feet off before you get in the store.
Exactly. Oh yeah, it was gross. So, but I did meet two people, and when Edward and I started the show, I said to him, "Do you remember I said first come the
haters?
Yes, which we've gotten.
Love it.
Love you, haters." And then I said, "And next come the
lovers."
The lovers,
okay.
Yes. And so here I am in San Francisco for something totally unrelated to this show. And I met one of our fans in person. I'm going to call her Molly. So shout out to Molly. You know who you are. And I really want to thank you for your comments. And I'm going to share them here since I have given you a pseudonym. Molly came up to me, and she's a widow. Her husband died several years ago. She's in a new relationship. And she said our show really helped her and her new partner communicate with each other, because she is the liberal and he is the conservative. And so I just want to shout out to Molly. Thanks so much for coming up to me and telling me how much the show meant to you. And also don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah.
And then I also met this amazing man, but I definitely going to give him a pseudonym, and I won't say where I met him. I'm going to call him Ethan. And I hope he doesn't mind sharing his story, since nobody can figure out who he is. But we just got to talking, and he is an immigrant, and he came to this country legally with his parents in the 80s. And he has lived, I think, in San Francisco for 40 years now. He is a gay Asian American man who was targeted, who had all of his teeth bashed in by, I think he said, a homeless person on the street. He was just walking, minding his own business. And this person came out, and maybe it wasn't a homeless person, but this person came out and smacked him with a frying pan and shattered all his teeth. And, he was the funniest, nicest guy, but he said that he has lost friends over his political views, which, much like mine, we don't feel like our views changed so much as the party changed.
Your party, yes. Correct.
Yes, the Democratic Party.
Yes.
And so I want to shout out to him. And this gets me to my next point. If you are watching our show and you're enjoying it, we want to reach more people, right? We want people like Molly to be able to have those conversations with their partners. We want people to feel supported in the LGBT, and I'm not even LGBT, I'm gonna stop there, community.
Good enough.
And we want to reach it. But I understand if you are afraid to come on live, like our visitor here from Germany today, or YouTube Larry. But just remember, you can create a pseudonym and you can still rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. So we've gotten some reviews, and most of the time, people create a name for themselves.
If you're worried or concerned that your friends are going to disown you because you have a different political opinion, they're probably really not your friends.
I agree, right? Yeah. But yet we saw so many families torn apart, especially when Trump was elected.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, I
absolute meltdown. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I know people who disown family members over this, and we really do, at our core, people, we have more in common than not. We really do. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited when Trump won. I was sad when he lost, but I didn't throw a tantrum and refuse to speak to anybody.
And you have some very liberal friends.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
That I've known for decades.
Yes.
And we have great conversations, and that's what it doesn't fall into shouting and devolve into it. It is reason talk, and that's fine. And again, like with a lot of liberals, it doesn't bother me that they're wrong.
Oh God, so you're not helping. You're not helping when you say that. And see, you could just take my stance that, like, I let him think that I'm wrong. I just let him think that, right?
You're so nice.
Yeah, I know.
Appreciate that.
All women do this with men, by the way, regardless of politics. But thank you for joining us today. And please follow us on all social media platforms. Join us live most Sundays, including next Sunday. We're live at 1 p.m. Eastern. We stream live on YouTube, Rumble, LinkedIn, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook. And most of the time, we are able to show your comments in real time. So please comment live. And be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast, which always drops the next day on Monday mornings, available wherever you're listening right now. And we are working on that locals community, because we do want to actually see the Mollys of the world and the Ethans and have conversations with you and give you even more exclusive content. So be sure to go to myfavoriteconservative.show. That's myfavoriteconservative.show. And you'll find all the stuff, the reviews, the socials, everything.
All right.
All right.
Awesome.
Anything else, Edward?
I am done.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.